Hear the story of my life, heartaches and pain, weeping at night and laughing at dawn.
Sharing my joy, victories and hope. A brighter day has come. It's for you and for me.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Jessica Kayanja show. We bring you real life stories of people who have weathered the storms of life and are willing to share their trials and their triumphs with us. And today's topic, the proverbial monster-in-law. What happens when the relationship with your in-laws is so toxic that even after your husband has passed on and his remains have been put in the ground, your in-laws will forget grieving for an instance and they will engage you in a verbal wrestling match. There is fighting at the home, there is fighting when the casket comes, there is fighting at the burial grounds, there is fighting after the burial. We are not here to malign any family. But before today's guest gives us her story, I want you to know that it is not fabricated. I attended this funeral, I attended the grieving vigil, I attended the burial, and I witnessed what this young lady went through. If you are watching and you are one of her in-laws, we are willing to take you on. We are willing to have a dialogue with you on the Jessica Kayanja show because we are not one-sided in any way. We are all human beings. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And most of all, I am an in-law, and so many people that are watching are in-laws. May this not be a judging session. May it be a session in which we can learn, and a session from which we can decide to be transformed. I want to welcome the beautiful, gorgeous, soft-spoken Jessica Nansubuga. You are welcome to this show.
Thank you so much, Pastor Jessica. I dearly appreciate this opportunity you have given me to share my story. And Holy Spirit, we adore you for who you are. My name is Nansubuga Jessica. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful daughters.
Oh, they are gorgeous.
Yes. I'm a businesswoman.
Yes.
I buy land and develop it. I build rentals and so I'm a landlady.
You are into real estate.
Yes.
Wow. Please tell us about that business. Is it developmental?
Yes, it's so developmental. You know this feeling of owning a property.
Yes.
I really want to own
and
properties.
When other people are selling clothes, you are selling houses.
I'm selling
That's
houses.
beautiful. That's
Yes.
wonderful. Jessica, your husband was an amazing entrepreneur. And we are not saying this because we worship property or because we worship things as people who don't live on this world are going to say. But we are saying it because it has a connection to the story.
Yes.
He was an amazing entrepreneur, and you and your husband worked yourselves from poverty, from owning nothing,
Yes.
to being multi-billionaires. And I say that without shame because the people who know you definitely know that is what it was. Now, usually when there is a relative in a family that probably has grown so rich,
Yes.
and appears to have it all together, there is a sense of entitlement.
Yes.
From the siblings, but I don't know whether that is what happened in your case. But before we go into that, tell us about your husband. He was a wonderful man.
A very hardworking person.
Yes.
He was. Actually, he's the one who engaged me in that
In real estate.
In real estate business.
He was your mentor.
My mentor, my friend. He taught me that essence of working hard.
Wow.
Working
Wow,
so
wonderful.
hard and
That is
owning property. I loved that.
Wow. When you were married, you know, you virtually had nothing. Nothing.
Because we met at church. I gave my life to Christ and I joined the intercessor group. And one Sunday evening, I saw this tall guy coming.
Tall, good-looking man. Yes. Yeah.
And he said to me that I need to talk to you. So I told him that I will get back to him right after the service.
And he proposed.
He proposed.
And he became your husband.
And he became my husband.
And by that time, he had nothing.
Not even a matrimonial home.
Not even a matrimonial home. But at his demise,
yes,
you were millions of dollars worth of malls, of shops, of houses. So he definitely was a very enterprising man. And he was not just your mentor. Many of us learned from Mr. Masele. I remember he is the first person I had saying that you could, build a mansion from scrap.
Yes.
From selling scrap, and that scrap could be recycled. And he was not just a hardworking, wealthy person. He was someone that was willing to impart knowledge and to encourage other people to become millionaires as well.
Exactly.
So Uganda did lose someone who was valuable, but we thank God that he knew God.
Yes.
And he passed on to glory.
To glory.
Wow. Jessica.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the day your husband dies.
Okay. It was Tuesday evening. He said he was not feeling good. And that very evening, I took him to see a certain doctor at Case Clinic. So he said he scanned him and said that he had a problem with his heart. And he referred us to a doctor in Mulago, a cardiologist. So early Wednesday morning, I rushed him to Mulago because he was getting really weaker. So he was aided with oxygen. And then meanwhile, as the doctors were trying to do all those tests, we just lost him like that.
Yes.
And
Wow.
it was a shock.
Yes. I came to the hospital sometime after that, just a few minutes after that, on hearing about his demise. But the drama started at the hospital.
Exactly.
I remember your mother-in-law saying you should not get into the car that brought you to the hospital because it was
car I came driving.
the car you came driving. Yes, I remember her saying that you shouldn't get into the car you came driving because it was no longer your property because your husband was dead.
Actually, when they gave her the news that sorry to announce to you, mommy, you have lost your son, he cried in a loud voice and said that this my son's property. That was how she cried. My son's property. This woman is going to
steal
everything.
my husband's property. Yes, I heard those cries. I had her, I had her shouting because I arrived a few minutes after that. I didn't know what the fiasco was about, but of course I was wondering. Even as you, my friend, have lost a husband, she has lost a son.
Yes.
And I was wondering why the concern for the property at that particular time.
And he told his son to go and search the car.
She told her son, she told your brother-in-law
yes,
to go and search the car.
That
yes.
there must be some money, huge sums of money we came with to the hospital.
That's because she knew that her son obviously dealt in billions and millions of money.
Yes.
Okay, so she wanted the car searched. And all this time, she has been given this very sad news that her son is no more. And she's searching for money that might be in the car, and she has confiscated the car. This is her reaction to her death. I want to believe she was mourning, and I want to believe she had actually lost direction and had no idea about what was happening. But like I said, this is a story I witnessed firsthand, because we are careful when we are giving you this story. This is a story I've witnessed firsthand. And well, that happens. There is that transition. I am jumping in because there are people who will be saying, why are you jumping in? I don't want her to be saying everything. I am owning this story because I don't want her in trouble with her in-laws. I'm owning this story. Fast forward, we get home.
And before we even got home, she said, you have no belonging in our family.
Yes.
Don't touch anything in the house.
Okay.
Not even a spoon, not even a fork.
Okay.
You have no belonging there.
Okay, so now your husband is dead and you are still at the hospital and your mother-in-law is saying, don't touch the property when you get home. Don't get into the house, because that's what she told me. She said, I don't want your friend in that house. And you are the legal wife. You were actually wedded in church. We witnessed your wedding. She says, I don't want her in the house. That's not her property. And you have no entitlement there. This is now your mother-in-law. And what I was wondering about, you know, what went through my mind at that particular time was, what about their grandchildren? What does she think about the children? How does she think they feature here? You know? And I wanted at that time to believe that she was grieving and she had lost her mind. So fast forward, we go home because the casket takes some time to get to the home. And when we get home, your mother-in-law addresses people. She actually talks to me and says, I hope you know that this is no longer your friend's property. And I hope you know that your friend didn't even have a son in this marriage. Okay, now that some of you are thinking, okay, that's the grand finale. This is not yet the grand finale. This is just, we are just beginning the story,
the drama.
Okay, the drama. Okay, now at a point where she grabs the microphone, I'm saying, Jessica, I'm out of here. You know, she grabbed the microphone to talk about that house.
Yes.
She said, I raised my children in a single room.
Exactly.
So this woman should get out, take her children and raise them and that was before the place was flooded with people, but there were a few people. The neighborhood was there. I was there. She says she should also take her children out of this place, raise them in a room, and they will become rich like my son became rich. But this is my property. This is my house now. So she wanted you out of that place so that you could go into a room and bring up your children the way she brought up her rich son. Now you continue.
He died on Wednesday and burial was on the following week, Monday.
Yes.
So all those days, imagine we are in drama.
Yes, I witnessed the drama.
It was
so
much.
What were some of the things she was saying?
She was just chasing me away from the home.
Yes.
And everybody was worried for me. She was saying that this one is, you are going to, actually she told my mother that if you do not want to lose your daughter, just take her away from here.
She told me too that you were not going to live very long. Yes, she told me that, that you were not going to live very long if you insisted on grabbing on to the property. So those are some of the things I want you to recall. I know this is a very hard story to tell because obviously you lost your husband. This has been a time of grieving. This is a time of getting yourself together. But as I tell what I saw, because I remember you at a certain time fainting. I fainted. You fainted.
She said that actually Sister Julia was among the people who were helping around.
Yes.
To lift. But somebody told me that Sister Julia was also among those people who were helping me. And then she said to them that just leave her to die. I have also lost a son here.
Yes.
Let her also die.
Yes. I remember that. I remember that bit. Now, in fainting was where you obviously were overwhelmed by
It
your
was
husband's
too
death,
much.
and then you were overwhelmed by
Actually,
your in-laws.
my mother developed pressure from there. She didn't have pressure, but she developed pressure. She was so worried for my life.
I remember your parents calling me and saying, we want to take our daughter. We want her alive, because your mother-in-law had actually intimidated them. And they said, you know, we want to take her alive. We are not concerned about property. So I mean that too was you know, a very complicated situation. Now, one of the well, I won't call them allegations because it was correct, but one of her punching, your mother-in-law's punching lines was, you don't have a son
In the home.
in the home, and but you had brought up your
Yes,
husband's son.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Very
you
well.
had brought up your husband's son. Your husband's son even looked healthier than your own children. So
Yes.
obviously you had, you know, seemingly showered him with love and all that.
Yes.
And so the reason probably one of the reasons we buried late is because your mother-in-law
Yes.
is now calling somebody from abroad who used to be your husband's girlfriend
Yes.
to come and officiate, because she's the mother
Of the son.
of the son. So that is, you know, and she actually told me that. She said, you know, mama omuleza ja, you know, all that. So how did you handle that? How did you feel?
I was so hurt, but I was so hurt to the core. But I'm glad that you came in, Pastor Jessica. I'm so glad that you came in. After we buried on Monday, and then the drama was still going on at the burial ground.
Yes.
Can
you tell us a little bit about that drama on the burial ground? Yes. When Pastor was... do you want to tell people, or do you want me to tell them?
Tell them, Pastor Jessica.
Like I said, you know, I have to take this because I don't want now her in-laws raising arms at her. At the burial ground, the lady that is supposed to be the boy's mother has come. And she's looking American, styled up. She has what is a fascinator, and obviously it's okay to be smart, and a black, you know, short dress, and looking very trendy and stylish, and we have finished burying, and Pastor says, "I'm going to show you the heir."
Yes.
And so when the heir is being brought, because obviously you had brought up this boy, it is you that he knew.
Yes.
Yes. So when the heir is being brought, her mother-in-law says no. She cannot stand with the heir.
Yes.
She may be the wife, but she is no longer featuring. The man is dead, he's buried. Let the woman, or let the women, the family that produced this son, stand up. You know, and right now she's standing up to Pastor Kayanja, which is, you know, obviously for most of the believers, this is now beyond the boundaries. I wondered how Pastor was going to handle it, but I was amazed when he called your son, because, you know, this is your son, your stepson.
Yes.
He called you and said, Jessica, come and stand with your son. And he prayed for the heir.
Yes.
And he said...
actually, she intervened. She said, no, I want the mother of this son to come here. Pastor Kayanja was laying hands on us, on me,
you
and she just...
Yes.
She dragged Pastor Kayanja's hand and she just placed it on her, on the other lady and the son. And she was like directing her that these are the people you should pray for. This is the heir and this is the mother.
The mother of the heir.
Yes.
Okay, that was very sad because that was a very traumatic moment. And, you know, the culture shock also of seeing this, because I don't want to criticize her. I know she has also been victim of their but I feel that your mother-in-law had kind of set her up.
Really.
She's not a bad person.
Exactly.
But even the way she was dressed, her mini, her fascinator, her her cleavage low dress, and this is a funeral. I feel that your mother-in-law probably could have
set her up.
Could have set her up, like, come and make a statement. You are the mother of the son.
Yes.
And Jessica's days of glory are long gone. Yes, I remember how grabbing the hand and but Pastor Kayanja obviously raised you up and this boy and said to the boy, this is your mother. So look after your mother and the siblings.
Yes.
Yes, and she was very angry. Because I was seated with Pastor Kayanja at the front and she was somewhere there, so she quarreled throughout.
Yes.
And I remember her telling another lady in Gao Power, what has he done? That woman failed to get a boy. And this is the mother of the boy. But obviously this is a mother who hasn't even been in the life
of the
boy, or even in your husband's life, because she lives abroad, she has her own life, she moved on,
her own family,
she remarried, and here is your mother-in-law wanting that to be the image and the vision, so that every time we think about your husband, this is what we envision. We will envision this lady we had never seen. She hadn't worked with him. I mean, I do understand that she had a son,
yes,
but basically I wondered where the appreciation for standing with her son, the appreciation for the fact that you were not a wife that came in maybe and stole,
yes,
property and disorganized the home. You were a wife who came in when the man had nothing, and you grew.
We grew together.
You grew together. I wondered about that. Now, okay, that drama was there, and when we are leaving the burial ground, she's asking us why we are not going to sleep at the burial ground, because she's okay for you to have the old burial ground, but she's not okay for you to have
my matrimonial
yeah
home.
She's not okay for you to go back to your matrimonial home. So she's asking us, why are you going back? Where are you going?
The place was so chaotic. I couldn't stand it. I had to go back home and think.
I know.
I pulled myself together and accepted whatever had happened, and then I said, no, I have to leave. I have to leave. My children have to leave. I have to fight. Pastor Jessica and Pastor Robert Kayanja, I saw a rescuer in you. I saw a deliverer in you. I really needed you at that time. And I thought to myself, because we had a lawyer. We had a family lawyer. I and my husband, we had a lawyer. But before I even knew it, they had already pulled him to their side.
They had manipulated him.
Yes, and he was no longer our lawyer, he was their lawyer. So I remembered, I said, Pastor Jessica, they have the biggest law firm in the country, the Sempebwa, the Katendi. I said, these are my rescuers. So I came to you and said, you know what, Pastor Jessica, but remember you told me, you said one thing, that Jessica, don't run away from this. I didn't know what I was going to do. You said to me, do not leave this house. You stay right here, fight for your children, fight for yourself. The same, Pastor Kayanja told me the same. So I remember you came for me, you came right at home and drove me straight to the law firm, and you handed me over to my lawyer now, Mr. Ansubuga. I remember you told him, you emphasized a point that
you and for me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying this program so far. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Pastor Jessica's YouTube channel. Oh, and don't forget to press the notification button so that you're notified whenever we upload a video. Also, you can follow Pastor Jessica on all of her social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under the handle of Pastor Jessica Kayanja. If you would like to contact Pastor Jessica Kayanja, please do so on 077-263-1603. And if you'd like to advertise with us, please don't hesitate to let us know. Okay, now let's get back to the show.
You and for me.
remember you came for me. You came right at home and drove me straight to the law firm. And you handed me over to my lawyer now, Mr. Nsubuga. I remember you told him, you emphasized a point that, Ted, I want you to vindicate this woman. She must get justice. Her children must get justice. And I'm forever grateful for that. Because I remember even then, you still masterminded the entire legal process. I remember I had a lawyer, but you and Pastor Kayanja took over the entire legal process. I mean, you wanted justice for me. And yes, you could call, Jessica, how are you? How are the children? Don't leave the home. Don't leave the home. I remember those days, I don't know what happened. Actually, I had to go and get security from the police because death threats were so many.
Yes.
They were threatening.
I remember we advised you to get security.
Yes.
Now, from the funeral, what now? I think you are an amazing woman. I have never met anyone like you. We are back from the funeral, and your husband's former girlfriend, the mother of the son, is in the house. They are staying. Remember, they're waiting for the reading of the will.
Yes.
Your mother-in-law is in the house. Your in-laws are in the house, and you are in that house with your 3 daughters, and your mother-in-law is continually saying, move into the boys' quarter, move into the boys' quarter, move into the boys' quarter.
We are going to kill you.
Yes, until
they told
you decide.
Pastor Kayanja that any time from now we are going to hammer her. Actually, the car. You remember about the car?
Yes, yes.
The Challenger car.
Yes, when you you were late for the funeral service.
Yes.
And I called you. I said, Jessica, what's happening? And you said, my mother-in-law says if we don't give her the car. The Challenger, we are not burying her.
She's
son.
not attending.
She's not part of it.
Any.
So you decided to give her the car.
The car.
And then she came in the car. And you didn't come in the car. She came in the car to bury her son.
Her son.
And she took the car.
She took
At least
it.
she managed to to take the car. But cars, if you are knowledgeable, you will know that it has no resale value.
Yes.
And for someone who has a car, you can't really say I have property. So I think that car appeased her for a little bit of time, and she forgot to put up the proper battle.
Yes.
But the bit about it was, I would come to your home and they were asking, you were serving them porridge.
Yes, and food.
Porridge and food for a week.
Yes.
Okay, I felt that was really, really strange. I felt that was really strange, but I think that you're an amazing woman. I feel that if I have decided to fight someone, I wouldn't even stay within the vicinity. But they stayed. They waited for.
Actually, they did not know that I was. I got another lawyer. They didn't know that you got me another lawyer. So they were so happy with this one because they had already, they were trying to manipulate everything. They had promised him a lot if he could channel everything to their interest. So it was a shock learning that there was another lawyer coming in the picture. That was also another fight. So we continued. I continued.
Thank you for fighting, not just for yourself, but for your children as well.
For my children.
Yes. And they were innocent. They did not deserve.
The last born was 1 year.
I remember.
She was still breastfeeding.
She was breastfeeding. And I remember looking at you, and you couldn't even cry. You were groaning.
It was
in
too
so much
much.
pain. But we thank God. He's a God of faithfulness without injustice. He preserved you. He kept you. He kept you strong, and eventually. You got justice.
I got justice
for your children,
yes.
Especially for your children, and your children
yes.
will not be in lack. They will not be unhappy because their father had invested.
Yes, that actually that activate you telling me that you stay in this house and these things belong to you and your children. It activated that tenacity in me. I said, at least Pastor Jessica and Pastor Robert believe that I can stay right here and fight and get victory over the situation, because my mother, she was already threatened and she was so worried for my life.
She wanted to take you. She wanted to take you.
So I had you and Pastor Robert.
I also realized that
moment.
you never raised a voice against your mother-in-law.
I never.
You never talked back. And again, I commend you for that. And if you're watching, and there's toxicity, your relationship with your in-laws is toxic. Maybe this is the time to make it up. Don't let your grievances escort someone to his death. Don't let your grievances escort someone to his grave. If you're watching and you are an in-law, I think it is important also for us to realize that as much as you lost your husband, they too had lost a son. They too had lost their brother. So that is understandable. But the manner in which you treated your mother-in-law with so much respect,
because
so
number
much
one,
love, so much tolerance.
yes,
I needed to ask, what type of relationship did you have with your mother-in-law before your husband passed on?
it was toxic from day one.
Wow. From the day your husband married you? Or as you grew?
No, it was a toxic relationship. She was not this type of a welcoming mother-in-law, and I learned that earlier. So I just learned to bear with it, with her. Yes.
But she adored her son.
Yes.
She adored her son, and we must give her the credit. I think she raised her children single-handedly.
Yes.
She raised her children single-handedly, and she let them become responsible. She led them to become responsible citizens, in the country. So I could say she adored her son.
Yes.
When she would talk about her son, even in that time there would be a smile. She was so proud of everything that her son had done. She really loved her son. My question is, and will always be, why didn't she feel the same way about you, Jessica? Why do you think she did not feel the same way about you?
I think it was about property. She adored property so much. And every time she saw me, she saw a thief.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes, she had this belief that I raised my son single-handedly, so I must be the owner of
I raised
these are my achievements
to work for me and to get back the years I put into him.
Yeah, he worked for them actually. He really took care of his siblings.
That's what I thought.
So much.
He took care of his mother as well.
Yes.
She was a very high-flying mother-in-law. She was very sophisticated for her age. She drove big. She dressed big. So I'm wondering,
because of her son.
Because of her son, yes. And he started businesses for them. For them, and
he
especially
built
for his mother,
houses for them.
houses for them. I'm wondering at what point enough was not enough.
I don't know. She was, maybe she just had greed. A grade, because she even at that point she even forgot she had the son left kids. She was not bothered at all.
My greatest shock was not even the fact that she forgot about the kids. My greatest shock was that she forgot to mourn at that time, or at least try and show us she was mourning.
Everyone is still wondering about that.
Yes, to try and show us she was mourning, because it was, Micah, where is the car? Wait, don't get into the house. What are they hiding there? That's my son's stuff. So that, I think for me, that was really the greatest shock, because I'm thinking, if someone has lost a child, the anguish, the grief, I may not even want to look at his property again, if I were that mother. So, give me this, give me that. That is what I thought was very strange, especially the fact that from the moment of his demise. Because they are toxic relationships, you know, and most families have that, where the in-laws are skeptical about the wife, and probably the wife is skeptical about them, or vice versa. But the forgetting to grieve, the forgetting to show anguish, and jumping out of the property and all that is, for me, what so that's why I say I always prefer to believe that she grieved so hard that it perturbed her, you know, mentally. And so you know, they stayed for a week. I think it was a week.
For a week.
Yes, for a week.
That chaos and drama for the entire week.
And then I would come and you would be making porridge, you would be doing chapatis.
Yes.
It was like a hotel. I want a chapati, I want porridge, I want this, I want that. And until finally,
yes,
they left. You were in a process of grieving. You are missing your husband. And you have no in-law.
I had no in-law
to fall back on, because I think the best person to grieve with you would be someone who has lost equally.
Yes.
And that would be an in-law. Because even as you lost your husband, they lost a son, they lost a brother. So I feel that the best person to protect you and to grieve with you and protect their children would have been someone who has lost equally.
Yes.
And that is why it was so disappointing.
It was so disappointing because they were busy looking at how the share of the property would be. So busy, they forgot to mourn.
I mean, it was like they had anticipated death or waited for this to happen, or it's very confusing. But that's really just the devil.
Yes.
It's important not to forget that these are your children's relatives. Although it is a pity that I know that your oldest girl saw what happened.
Yes.
You know, and I don't know what impression she has, because she was old enough to understand when we talked.
Yes.
She was old enough to see that your mother-in-law was hostile.
She was.
I remember your mother-in-law seated near the coffin, and when your youngest daughter was walking towards the coffin, she said, "Ono mumuje obwana bwamwe," you know, and it was
terrific. It was.
Yes, I think it was shocking. It was shocking. We need to revisit ourselves, all of us, for those of you that are watching. If you have a toxic relationship with your in-laws, how far does it get? How far will it go? And isn't it better to mend the relationship now,
Yes.
before any tragedy? Because usually when there is tragedy, the relationship will never mend.
Yes.
There are people who treat death like a divorce, you know, like you were actually at war with your husband. So that if he dies, it's going to be a fight, it's going to be a struggle.
Yes.
You know? So there are always questions. Should I fight for this diminishing relationship? A relationship that is going down. Should I fight to maintain my in-laws when they're actually no longer my in-laws? There are always those questions. How do you feel about that? Because there are some people who say, I don't feel safe.
For sure, I don't feel
Yes,
safe,
I know.
but I have to let go of bitterness.
Yes.
Because I realized that bitterness could kill me. They were so hurting. And I felt that, you know what, because I want to live, I have to let go of bitterness, but again, I have to keep distance. Yes, one thing I've learned from you, Pastor Jessica, you as a girl power leader, you as a girl power leader, you have taught us to fight on our knees. Yes, I at that time I made a strong altar in my house, and that altar helped me so much, because those days I could be led. The Holy Spirit could lead me that do not be in such and such a place. Do not eat this. Just move away from these people. Be with these people. And it helped me a lot. It helped me a lot. And one thing I don't want us to undermine is the power of having a functional spiritual parent. a functional spiritual parent like you and Pastor Kayanja. That one is so strong because even biblically, there are so many scenarios in the Bible where life is saved because of her connecting to a functional spiritual parent. I remember when Jacob told one of his sons, Reuben, that Reuben, you will be unstable. Reuben, you will not excel. But when we read in Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 6, Moses takes a role of a functional spiritual father, and he says to Reuben that, Reuben, you will live and not die, thereby breaking the curse of Reuben. This is so powerful. You took, I don't know, you covered me, you were there for me throughout, and lives were saved. Yes.
Many people have failed to understand me and have chosen to be, but my passion has always been for vulnerable women, women who are abused because they are not strong enough to stand, and I am glad that you were able to fight this abuse for the sake of your children,
my children,
and I'm glad that you are an overcomer now.
I am an overcomer. I want to ensure the entire world that I'm alive and well. I have my property. My children are so alive and well. I'm a victor. Because of people like you who stood with me throughout.
Wow.
You practically stood up for me, and I'm forever grateful.
I want to say another thing that your mother-in-law was worried about. She was worried that you would get married, and the man. These were, her words to me, and I think just not to me. She told you.
That was one of her biggest pain.
Yes, she was worried that you would get married and your husband would take everything that her son had worked for. In honor of your mother-in-law, I want her to know, and I want everyone watching, because this is a very beautiful woman. I know that there are people that will be looking for you, looking at you because of your beauty. But I know that there are others these days that are looking at people because of their property. This property belongs to Jessica's children. And if there is anybody planning to jump on board, they should know that it is not about property.
Yes, Pastor, yes.
It is not about property. It's really about you and your future. So your mother-in-law, I think she had absolutely no reason not to worry, because you fought for your children.
Yes.
And this property belongs to your children. I'm looking, and I know there must be a mother-in-law watching. It's difficult to lose a son. It's difficult to separate yourself from a child. It's difficult to see the son that you have labored for, especially if you have been in an abusive marriage, if you have stayed because of your children, if you have sacrificed so much because of your son. It is difficult. It might be difficult to see somebody else come in and steal all the attention. But if you really love your son, you will appreciate everybody that makes them happy, everyone that makes them smile, everyone that causes their hearts to beat with love. If you are watching and you are a mother-in-law, let's stop being possessive. Possessive love can be very harsh.
Yes.
And I'm sure what your mother-in-law did was probably out of love. She loved you, loved her son so much. And that's what we want to believe. We don't want to believe she was greedy. We want to believe she loved her son so much. She wanted to live in that property, that she could remember her son. She wanted to be sure that no man ever takes what her son worked for. Well, no man will take what your son worked for. And if there is ever a man, I know that he too will have potential to work, and he will work before he approaches a woman like this. But if you are a mother and you are watching, if you are a sister-in-law and you are watching, if you are a brother-in-law and you are watching, it is easy for us to offend and go on the offensive. But put yourself in these people's shoes. They leave their families, come and marry into our families. I'm involving myself as well. I'm an in-law. Yes, I'm an in-law to two very beautiful women, and very soon I will be, a mother-in-law. So, if you are a mother-in-law and you're watching, put yourself in the shoes of somebody else's child who has come all the way to marry into your family. They've thrown their life away. They have left their parents. They have left the homes that they were used to, and they have come to you, and their parents have given them to you because they trust you. If you can think of this child as your own child, you wouldn't mistreat them. You wouldn't put them down. You wouldn't fight with them. You wouldn't even feel that you had to compete with them. It is terrible to have prosperity without posterity. When your husband leaves, when your son leaves and he's no more and he's put in the ground, every parent would have wanted continuity.
Yes.
Every parent would have wanted a legacy.
Exactly.
You want your son's name to go on. And the only way you can establish posterity, the only way you can establish continuity is if there is a wife.
Yes.
To have those children and to take care of them so that tomorrow people will still talk about you.
Yes.
Our God is a God of legacy. He is the God of Abraham. He's the God of Isaac. And he's the God of Jacob. He's the God of a lineage, and he's the God of a house. Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. A house is a mother, it is a father, it's a mother-in-law, it is a father-in-law, that is a family. Let us try to clean up our toxicity. Let us try to rebuild our broken relationships. Jessica,
Yes,
just give a word of advice to the women that are in your situation and that are watching.
Yes. In this situation, if you find yourself in this situation, you really need people. You really need people. For my case, I had two wonderful people. I had Pastor Jessica and Pastor Robert Kayanja besides me. Very qualified people, very competent people. You really need people. And again, you need to engage lawyers. I think Pastor Jessica will help me to emphasize that point. People really need to engage lawyers. If they can find an eligible lawyer, it can help a great deal. And then I talked about an altar. You really need an altar, a place where you can connect to God and really hear from God. You need, because at the altar is where we put our battle seed, and then we cry because we are fighting. The Bible says that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal but might in God, pulling down strongholds, casting down all those imaginations, because at that time everyone was casting death against me. But through the altar, my battle seeds, my tithes were also weapons against this war. And the other thing is, do not get hold or just find out what, I mean, like you sit down and find out what is crucial in this context, your life. So do not walk with bitterness. Leave bitterness away. Ask God for the grace of forgiveness. Yes, forgive these people. I know it's not a one-day thing, especially when the other person is still hurting. But step by step, you will get there. Yes.
Wow, thank you so much. If you are watching and you are a widow, you are estranged, an estranged widow, your in-laws are fighting you. Jessica says an altar. She talks about a very strong legal team. I know that those of you that are so spiritual are going to say, why fight in court? If you are taken to court, you need representation. You will not go with angels. you know, and that is what I told somebody else whose husband has dragged her to court. I said, you did not choose court. You don't want court. But once you go to court, you need representation, and you need good representation.
Yes.
You don't need people who are going to speak in tongues. You don't now. You have been taken to court, so you need to be represented. So a strong, a good legal team, and when people are fighting because they had manipulated your lawyer, that was their line of fighting.
Yes.
You needed to fight excellently as well. And I feel that so many of us women are usually abused because our vulnerability calls for it. We are very emotional, and when you meet women that are going through divorce, you have to actually tell them, look here, this man is no longer in love with you. You know, you have to because you find they're clinging on, they're madly in love there, and you know, sometimes it's difficult. Even with this situation, someone might say, no, I don't want to fight my husband's memory, and we are so emotional, and we attach emotionalism to everything that we do. So I think that Jessica's advice, the altar, the strong, powerful legal team, and friends that can back you up and stand with you is excellent. I don't even need to get into that. And I want to appreciate you for coming to share your story with us. I want all of you to know that I've owned this story. The in-laws that are watching us, I was a part of it. I saw it happen. I was by Jessica's side most of the time. And if there is anything that does not lie down well today, I think I'll take the blame. Because I know that this story has come out to help people.
Yes.
And I ask you to come here to share this story so that it can help all the women that are involved in this type of fight to be strong, to build tenacity, to stand up. The Bible says, ever since the time of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God has been attacked by violence, and the violent take it by force. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Pastor Jessica,
for coming to the program today.
I appreciate you.
And viewers, thank you for tuning in. God bless you, and bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this program. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Pastor Jessica's YouTube channel. Oh, and don't forget to press the notification button so that you're notified whenever we upload a video. Also, you can follow Pastor Jessica on all of her social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, under the handle of Pastor Jessica Kayanja. If you would like to contact Pastor Jessica Kayanja, please do so on 077-263-1603. And if you'd like to advertise with us, please don't hesitate to let us know.
I'm so sorry. That's all we could do for today. I do wish we had more time. But remember, it's a weekly program, so please do stay tuned for the next upload. I love you. I'll be praying for you. And bye.
Sharing my joy, victories and hope. A bright